Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we'll be talking about trekking through history. And this is designed by Charlie Bink. The artwork is by Eric Hibbler. That's such a fun name. Eric, you have a great name.
Thanks, Eric, for having a great name.
It is. And it is published by Underdog, or will be published by Underdog Games.
All right, you guys, take yourselves back to 2016, 2017, somewhere in that range.
Tweeny.
There was a strange man wandering around Gen Con, and he was wearing a full-on camping gear, backpack satchel thing. And what he was doing was ultimately promoting his game, Trekking the National Parks. We got a chance to play a demo of that game way back then.
With him,
and enjoyed the heck
I
out of it.
doubt he remembers.
And he was telling us all about the story of it, the background of it,
It's quaint. It's lovely.
With his dad, and going on all these different national parks. It was wonderful. Well, that became Trekking the National Parks. Had a second edition, Trekking the National Parks, second edition, obviously. Then there was Trekking the World, and now the newest one, Trekking Through History. Basically, you are doing just that. You are kind of stopping through various points in time, seeing all these cool events throughout history, kind of doing it in sequential order. There's a little bit of a push your luck aspect to it. Let me show you how to play. We have this really nice kind of cloth mat here. We've got all of our cards laid out here for our age 1. There's a large stack of them. Basically, you shuffle all these ages up, and you're going to deal out 5 cards, plus flip over the top of the deck over here, so you always have 6 things to choose from. We also have our second and our third decks right over here. We've got a snake track for our score right across the top of the board over here, and the main way you're going to get points is on this track right here. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking turns drafting these cards. When you take these cards, across the bottom of those cards, there's going to be some symbols. You're going to take those coins. You're also going to take anything below that as well and add it to your board. Basically, there are a whole bunch of these different board cards here. At the beginning of the game, you're going to take 4 of them. You just look at them. You're going to choose them. What's going to happen is you're going to try to fill these up in the best way possible to give you points. If you ever cover up a point, you're going to get those points immediately. If you ever get a kind of a gem like that, you're going to get points that way as well. You do need to start from the top and work your way down. So, for instance, this green one here, the first green gets you really nothing. The second green also gets you nothing by itself. However, if you see this connecting line right here, if you were able to completely fill in that whole row, you're going to get a bonus 10 points. Same thing again in this row. And over here, this one's going to give you 4 points if you fill that up. Each board is completely different. They're completely unique. Each one has its own separate way of scoring and different bonuses you can earn. But all within themselves, they are balanced. So this is where you're going to be drafting your different coins too. Across the top of the board, we have all of our different tokens that we're going to be drafting. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to fill up that board and get us the most amount of points as possible. Also, I do want to point out that those gems are kind of like an extra wild resource, which I'll get to that in a minute. So we talked about all the benefits of these cards across the bottom, as well as what's printed on the board. But what does it cost you? On the bottom left of the card, it's going to cost you time. So for instance, if you are the blue player, you take this card right here, it's going to cost you 2 time. As indicated right at the bottom there. What we're going to do is we're going to move our clock along this clock 2 times. Whoever is furthest behind on the track is the player who goes next. So if one person bought like a whole bunch of really expensive cards, maybe they're way out here, then it would be, let's say, Red's turn. They might be able to take 2 turns back to back because of how far behind they are. Once you take the card, you put it in your tableau, and you're going to slide everything over. Collecting all those different tokens is great for filling up your board, but remember I said the bulk of your points are going to come from this chart right here. That has to do with how many cards you have in sequential order. So we're basically kind of traveling through history, thus the title of the game, Trekking Through History. And what we have to do is we kind of have to start way back in the past and work our way chronologically forward. So for instance, if I have this as my starting card right now, I've got 347 BC. If I want to continue playing cards off of this, the next card I need to buy needs to be further in the future. So for instance, I could do 1504 or 1385, but I could not go back to this 12,000 BC. That would not be a good idea right now. So ideally what you want to do is you want to start as far back in history so that way you can get as many points as possible. You're going to be lining them up in a row. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with, like I said, whatever you start with, you're going to play them sequentially as high as you can. At some point, what's going to happen is you are going to not be able to play a card, or it's not going to work out for your other strategies. At that point, you're going to score the points based off how far you got. So if you had 5 cards sequentially in a row, you'd get 7 points based off of this chart. And then, next card you got would simply start a new stack. And your stacks do carry over from day to day. So we've got day 1 over here. And day 1 is going to end once all players have gotten back to the starting spot on that board. Then we're going to start with day 2 and day 3. We actually do have a really nice kind of chart here kind of predicting what things might come out as far as each day. So obviously in day 1, we have things that are much, much older. 37,000 BC kind of stops at 1903. Whereas day 2 starts with 3,500 BC and goes to 1985. And then day 3 starts basically right at 70 BC and goes to 1994. So all the days are kind of staggered, but also they have lots of overlap. So for instance, if your last card over here, in day 1, you can start over here somewhere in day 2 and still can carry on with that same stack. We do have these nice little gems over here. Whenever you collect a gem, what you can do is you can save it on your board, and you can spend them in place of spending time. So for instance, if you were to buy a card that had 3 as the time, and you wanted to spend a gem, you could bring it down to 2 time. That way you could fit more of your turns within that round. Once all players have gotten back to their starting point over here, you're going to start a new round. So basically you're going to get a new one of your cards. You're going to choose from the 4 that you were dealt at the beginning of the game. You're going to choose a new one. So each round you have a different one that you're working on. And you keep on going. You draft cards, fill up your boards, trying to get as many tokens as possible, get points that way. And also get as long of a stretch of sequential cards as possible. Another way to get points is if you are going around this track and you land exactly right back on the starting spot, you get a punctuality bonus of 3 extra points. However, if you were able to do something like this, get over to the 11 and then buy a card that costs, let's say, 3 time, basically what would happen is you just simply go to the 12. We're going to play 3 days. At the end of that 3rd and final day, we're going to add up all of our points, and whoever has the most points wins the game. Also, I want to point out that all the cards do have kind of a little bit of historical facts in the back here. It's going to be really nice to kind of make this into a little bit more of an educational tool. There's some really cool events that maybe aren't always talked about. This is a great way to kind of learn about some historical facts along the way as you are playing this great game. By the way, there is also kind of an additional version of the game that you can play with the time warp cards. Basically, this allows you to kind of have extra manipulation and extra rule-breaking things. I would not suggest playing with these your first time through, but once you are familiar with the base game, adding in those time warp cards are a blast.
All right, so before I talk about the game or the gameplay at all, I just want to mention how much I absolutely adored the color palette of this. It was able to be extremely colorful without it being like really pastel or without it being just like primary colors. I was immediately intrigued by the cover art. I was immediately intrigued by when the game was set up and all of that was involved in that.
Eric Hibbler strikes again.
Yes, I really enjoyed the color palette of this game.
Yeah, another thing I want to mention is I am not a big Push Your Luck fan. If you've watched our channel for any amount of time, you heard me,
lament on the woes of Push Your Luck.
Anytime there's Push Your Luck game, I'm like, do we have to review it? I don't want to. And if we do, I usually have to give it an honest review, which is I didn't like it, not because it's bad, but because it's Push Your Luck. But you know what? The Push Your Luck in this game was very, very subtle. It did 2 things. First of all, it gave me the probabilities I needed to make educated decisions. So, it gives you the full list of what the different cards are going to come out, or at least the ages of the good cards that are going to come out in the first day, the second day, and the 3rd day. So that way I can kind of see what's coming, make some decisions, make some probabilities. That way if I'm off, it's on me, not on the game. And sometimes you flip over a card, it's like, oh, you lost. It's like, well, that was super fun.
Yeah.
That didn't happen with this game because you kind of had an idea of what was coming up. And plus, you always had an out with those ancestor cards. There's always kind of a way to get out of jail at least once.
Yeah.
The second thing that they did was the fact that there was an option. There was a row of cards that you could choose from. It wasn't like you just had one choice, flip over a card or not flip over a card. It was you had to buy any one of these cards, and there was options every turn. So that way you could kind of cultivate your own board and make it work for you in whatever way you could. So even though Push Your Luck was subtle, it was there, but with lots and lots of mitigation in a way that made it fun for me.
So you're doing one thing in this game. You're drafting a card. That's it. That's like the only action. But with that one action, there's just so much going on there, especially when it comes to battling your itinerary with your trek. So, if you can get a lot of cards in that one trek, you can get a ton of points, over 30 points at the end of the game. Didn't you get I
had 36 one time.
Yeah, and so you can get a ton with that. Also, on your itinerary board, there's points on that, and there's also time tokens, which really help you later on in the game. So every single time you're drafting an event that you're going to witness, that you're going to trek through, you have to balance the tokens that it's going to give you with your itinerary and that. So it's like this one card, right? It takes up a lot more mind space than you think it's going to. Our turns, with only doing one action, took longer, not in a bad way at all, but took longer than you thought they would take, right? You can't just like go, 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 go. And since after every turn, all the cards are moving down, you always have that fresh thing. What you think you might have wanted is going to change by the time it's your turn again. So it was just like that one choice was extremely meaningful.
The component quality is out of this world. They did a lot of choices that other companies would call deluxe or extra or even not do at all, and they made them just part of the game. And the fact that you had this really nice mat instead of a board, the fact that you had all these individual custom tokens for the various colors and rows that could have just been generic tokens.
Yeah.
The fact that you had these big oversized clock and the oversized little clock movers, all those things were just kind of above and beyond. The insert itself was phenomenal. The card art was wonderful. Everything about this game was just produced very, very well.
Yeah.
Absolutely A+ in terms of the components of this game.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this game. It was so much fun. I feel like this is a game that I could definitely and easily bring out with new gamers because the gameplay of it is so simple that it's going to be really easy to teach, but you can still have a competitiveness and you can still try and work for things even though it's so simple. So this is great for new gamers. It's great for people who want a good game but maybe like can't stand through a huge rules teach. I mean, this is it. This is the game for them. I had a lot of fun with it.
I really enjoyed how this had educational aspects to it, right? You could take the time and you could read all the headings, and you could kind of learn about these various events through time, and on the back of them it gave you more explanations.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you wanted just to have it be a push your luck numbers game, that existed for you too. So you could kind of use this as an educational tool if you wanted, or you could just play the game and have a really fantastic time that way as well. Both avenues were there for you, and I thought that was very, very clever. It's a game that I'm going to be pulling off the shelf quite a bit. I can see myself playing this one often because, I don't know, it was exciting and it was interesting and it was accessible, with still being full of meaningful choices,
Yeah.
which I absolutely loved.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching it. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see our videos as they come out. Until then, you can find us in all of these places.
You guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.